Good afternoon. Tony Dottino here, and God, I have so many different memories and thoughts. It's birthday day today, and I'm getting so many great wishes and wonderful phone calls and text messages, and it just brings back so many memories. And one of the first memories that I get back to that was so life-changing to me is a lesson I got from Tony Buzan asking me a question about, so tell me about your gig. And I'm like, tell me about my gig. Okay, is it something I'm up to? Is it some musical gig I've got somewhere? Is it some workshop that I'm doing gig? And so tell me what gig is. And so I learned something that was life-changing for myself, and it's had an impact on my life since the first time I learned what gig was and how it impacts my thinking. Now, if I could get to the right side of my head here. Okay, so what is GIGG? Tony started off by sharing with me a fundamental lesson is that the human mind has an infinite amount of thinking capacity. We can think and think and think, and it has an unlimited capacity. There's no fixation, there's no magical number on how many thoughts that our human mind can have. And so when you start thinking about what is your gig, he then gave lesson number 2, which is the brain is synergetic, meaning it's constantly thinking within itself. You can't take a 5, 10, 15-second pause and say, I'm going to just shut my brain off and not think anything. In fact, in the workshop when I first heard this, he asked us to all sit there. We had 25 people. Would everybody sit there? And now everybody, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to stop your thinking. And I don't want anybody to think anything. And of course, after 5 seconds, you came to realize that this is pretty silly and pretty goofy. There's no way you can stop your brain from thinking. So it's thinking all the time. And he taught us that that is our synergy, meaning it's the ability of our brain to take one thought and get to another thought and get to a third thought and get to a fourth thought. And I always think of the game telephone when somebody gives you a word or they start with a word and they say, okay, what's the next thought you have and the next thought you have? And so you play this game of telephone, and before you know it, you've got 6 people with 6 different thoughts just off of one key word. So what does that have to do with GIGG? So here was the formula. It was life-changing. In a brain that is synergetic, that has unlimited capacity to think and create and to remember, that is a key, to remember, memory. Our brain has an infinite capacity to do those things. To think, continue that thinking, to create from that thinking, and or to retain and remember from that thinking. Boy, do people have memories of things. I've had lots of memories today on my birthday and thinking back to birthdays past. And what memories just come flooding by, unlimited. Good into a brain, so what are your inputs? So good into a brain that is building within itself, good grows. Wow. So if you're taking good things about you, you're learning things that are good and you're enjoying, you're happy about, you're dealing with people in your social sphere that are bringing good things to the table and talking about pleasant things in their lives, as well as things in your lives, as well as the happy birthday wishes I'm getting today, which are just so awesome. Then good in a synergistic brain will grow, such as GIGG. Good in good will grow, which then creates opportunities in life, it creates memories in life that are infinite. So it's an interesting thought process to say, wait a minute, let's be intellectual about this for a minute. What are the inputs that you're putting into your brain? So what inputs are you getting? So what music, what reading, what people, who are the influences in your life that get into your brain that has a natural synergy of thinking and thought that then generates more thoughts. Thus, what inputs to your brain, are they good? Are they the kinds of things that are going to help you to aspire to your purpose in life, to your goals, the things you want to achieve for your family, for your loved ones, and for yourself? And are you going to be aware of those things that are going to just build the synergy of thought? They're going to just get into a cycle, and they're just going to start building and building and building upon themselves, and they're going to grow. So good in, good grows is a wonderful piece of synergy of human thought that can be tremendously beneficial to all of us. As long as we recognize what? First, whether we're taking in is good and how it impacts our stress levels, our emotional levels, our physical physiology, and how it impacts our thinking. So are we aware of the good things that we are inputting into our brain, and the recognition, the realization of how we are letting that synergize, ruminate within our minds to grow. And so you can grow amazing possibility. And you listen to athletes, you listen to people that have been successful in life that just refuse to go down the dark pathway, but instead said, you know what, I'm going to take opportunity, I'm going to let it grow. I may fail once in a while, but I'm going to bounce off those failures and I'm going to keep going because I got someplace good that I want to go. And until you get through an exercise where you get to thinking, so, well, what else can that G in that first position stand for that has an impact on your life? And so you're back to the dictionary to say, okay, what other words beginning with G can have an impact on that early stage of synergy of thought? And so obviously you come up with garbage in, and garbage will grow. So what negative things are you listening to? Again, radio, music, people, papers, magazines, life news. What is it that is impacting, again, your inputs that you're ruminating or synergizing, building on, that can create a garbage dump? And what he was very cautious in teaching at the time is not to distinguish reality from, there are things in life that are going to be hurtful, and we may want to define them as garbage, but how you let those ruminate and build and synergize in your head can either create, there's no point of trying because life is going to keep shooting me down somewhere, somehow, someplace, or I can elect to process those, learn from them, and so we got into lessons on learning to learn from life's bumps in the road, and flip those into good. Accepting a purpose and a goal in our life of something we were propelled and motivated to try to reach out for. And then along came some work I started doing with a group of hospital nurses who were very impassioned to create the best patient experiences that they could for their patients that they cared for in a very delicate unit of the hospital that demanded full attention and commitment, and had a nursing group that said, and why can't we take good in, and why don't we start going for greatness in, and greatness will grow? Whoa! Why not? So what else can G be? Greatness in, and greatness will grow. And as we watch the work that was done in this hospital, and a group of nurses just created things in their unit that was just amazing, with the purpose of caring for people who needed their help and expertise, and so changed the thinking and the attitudes of the care that they gave to their patients, the experiences that they created that made such a difference in the lives of those that they touched and the families they reached. And that's when I stop back and think about my birthday today, I think about where was it in my life that I changed some of the synergy that I had from the negativity, the things that I listened to, the things that I believed, and where I began to not deny reality, but began to move into you know what? I've got some good friends. I've got some good teachers. I've got Tony Buzan in my life. My goodness, I've got colleagues of his, Rhonda North. And I said, my goodness, I've got some pretty darn good things in my life that take this positive synergy of thought and allow it to then ruminate in my mind and let me see what greatness that maybe I can go out and reach. And so the joy of remembering, and tying this back to, so now what are the things I remember, is that lesson of how that so changed my life into believing I can. In fact, I've gotten to write 2 books with him. I've gotten to create the USA Memory Championship. I've gotten to work with hospitals where we've changed the care and the feelings that people had in terms of their experiences. So on this birthday, I just look back at that experience and remember those early lessons that have become life-changing in terms of what I've been able to do, the successes I've had, but most importantly is changing the inputs to my first position gig. If this helps one person out there to generate one new level of synergy, then this broadcast today has been well worth the time for me, but more importantly, the time for you to listen to it. Have a good one. Off for dinner in a little bit, and completing a really great birthday day.